The NFL has a serious problem, and I'll tell you why right now. Remember a couple months ago when Jaxson Dart presented Donald Trump at a rally, and a lot of people were enraged about the situation. Some even thought this was all AI. I mean, Abdul Carter thought this was AI in this tweet and was outraged that his quarterback could do something like this. You could be liberal, you could be conservative. I don't give a fuck what you are. My whole thing is that shouldn't affect his personal image on what you're making out Jaxson Dart to be. But why was this the headline for, a couple months ago, for a couple weeks, when there's been a lot of situations where professional NFL players are having these domestic violence issues, gun issues, all these accusations that are far worse than what Jaxson Dart did. Last time I checked, presenting the president at a rally isn't exactly breaking the law. I mean, I could give you countless examples over the years, even over the months, but the most recent example being Terrion Arnold, who I have to read it out, facing 8 felony charges, 4 counts of kidnapping, 4 counts of armed robbery, and there's also charges of retaliatory plot following a theft for his rental property. Guys, this guy's not a good hombre. Like, this guy's not a good dude. Like, this 8 counts of criminal charges? That's ridiculous. Like, what are we talking about? It just boggles my mind how we're treating Jaxson Dart like a fucking criminal and not this guy who's an actual criminal. It just boggles my mind. How are the players deciding who's the bad guy and who's not? And I have my own theory on it, but it's just very interesting how we're treating Jaxson Dart as this, basically criminal for introducing the president, who, whether he's liberal, conservative, it really shouldn't matter. I think political affiliations shouldn't be the reason why you target an individual, unless it's absolutely outrageous, but it shouldn't be the reason. But this isn't just the NFL problem. All these other professional leagues are tiptoeing around, what should be allowed in terms of political correctness and all these sort of topics that, fans are also, very influenced and very passionate about. And with the league being basically 80-90% black, I don't know the exact percentages, you kind of have to tiptoe around it, if you're Jaxson Dart, even though, it's completely wrong that you're being villainized just from the standpoint that you presented the president at their rally. So that's absurd, but it's just that at the end of the day, it's the reality. Like, look at this guy, Terrion Arnold. I'm showing you a picture right now. He's in a jumpsuit, and he just looks absurd. Like, what the fuck? How is this guy a good guy compared to Jaxson Dart, who's, like I said, he didn't do nothing wrong. He didn't do nothing wrong. And I find it kind of curious how that situation is going to unfold with the NFL season starting in some months, how that locker room is going to be divided. Is it because I know a lot of players aren't admitting that they're conservative. I would argue a better portion of what's being reported are conservative than liberal because, as you know, conservatives, they focus more on, keeping their money, tax breaks, and once you're part of that 1%, you tend to lean more towards, the conservative kind of ideology. So I think there's more NFL players that are conservative than they would like to admit. But I do find that interesting, the dynamic between Abdul Carter, Jaxson Dart, and what the rest of the locker room looks like. And, this is nothing new. Even going back to Colin Kaepernick, although I feel like there's a lot of players that kneel down during the anthem that probably felt like, okay, this is kind of, I'm just doing this just so I don't divide the locker room. So I think there's a lot of that going on. But if I were Jaxson Dart, I'd be pissed. Because if I'm Jaxson Dart, I know what people are saying about me. I go on X, I go on Instagram, I go on the social media platforms, and I'm being villainized. And I'm seeing a guy like Arnold, who, where's the public outrage for this guy who's a legitimate criminal at this point? And there's other examples, maybe in the months previous, where, hey, he got accused of rape. What about this guy? Or what about in the months afterward? What about this guy? Why aren't you making him out to be a villain? So I really feel bad for Jaxson Dart. He's like, dude, what the fuck? And there's nothing really he can do about it. He's the quarterback of the New York Giants. He's approved. He needs to be a leader in that locker room. So he's really trying hard not to say anything that he shouldn't be saying. But in his mind, I guarantee you he's saying this is fucking bullshit. I do think that because it is Donald Trump that is president, I think that's a big reason why there's this kind of commotion. I think if it was any other president but Donald Trump in the years after, say, I don't know, J.D. Vance, for example, that'd be something where it wouldn't be as bad as it is Donald Trump, just because, I mean, he's a polarizing figure. So that's going to raise some eyebrows. That's going to really enrage the other side of the political spectrum. So that's a big reason why. So I am curious what if Jaxson Dart presented J.D. Vance, for example, in 4 years, seeing if that would make any difference. I think it would be. But I do think there is some hypocrisy when it comes to that, when it comes to the left and the right. But yeah, the NFL clearly swings a certain way when it comes to the political spectrum and just the political correctness side of things, as does the WNBA, for example, which from a demographic standpoint, from a race standpoint, very, very similar. Although the NFL isn't as, doesn't swing a certain way. But, you know, it's funny if you're comparing the NFL to the MLB. Clearly, based on the demographic of the league, there's certain things that are allowed and that aren't allowed. And I'll get into the MLB here in a later video this week on kind of what's going on in that league compared to the NFL, for example.